Hi, I'm Joe Perez. I'm going to read a short passage from my book Soulfully Gay and then briefly discuss one of the book's central ideas. So here's the passage. God made some men gay because he made them in his image. God made gay men to love in gay ways because God loves in gay ways. The beauty of gay men reflects the beauty of God, and the beauty of gay ways of loving reflects the beauty of God's gay ways of loving. So what is this trying to say? What do I mean by God is gay? Or to put it a different way, what's the meaning and purpose of homosexuality, really? Which is a lot like asking, what is the nature and purpose of heterosexuality, really? Well, the way these sorts of questions are traditionally answered is in philosophy and theology, by constructing a model of human nature. And these sorts of discussions often go back to unproven assumptions, first principles that are not argued, but they are posited. So let me say right off the bat that I'll bring one metaphysical assumption to the discussion. It's unproven, but I think it's worth considering. That is the idea that evolution has a telos. Everything evolves, and it has a direction. There is a overarching direction in which reality is going. It may be a mysterious attraction, a pull that we can barely define, but it's there, and that's what I'm assuming for the purposes of the discussion. So, with that in mind, let me bring up the four elements of my model of human nature, saying that all life forms evolve, but they don't evolve randomly. There are patterns of existence or tendencies of evolution, patterns drawn from evolutionary and system sciences that are based on empirical studies into actual processes of evolution. It says that there are four central tenets or patterns. First, agency, that is, everything has a tendency towards self-preservation, that is, to remain in integrity with itself and to assert its autonomy. The second principle is that of communion, that is, everything is self-adaptive. Things respond to their environment, even if not on a conscious or intentional level, as with human beings. Even something as small as an electron is responsive to changes in its field of movement. The third principle is that of self-transcendence. Things transform and have the ability to produce offspring or create new life that is different from its own. And finally, the fourth principle of self-immanence or self-dissolution. That is, things can fall apart, things can reflect back on themselves or cease to exist. Now, with these four elements, we can start to see how sex relates to human nature. The principle of agency is really the masculine principle, very generally conceived. The principle of autonomy and self-determination. The principle of communion is really the feminine principle, that of placing a centrality in relationship. So what is the relationship between agency and communion, between masculine and feminine? Well, this question can be answered by looking at the other two elements of the equation, self-transcendence and self-immanence. The way that I speak about these is somewhat poetically as love. There are two directions of love, according to Soulfully Gay. one direction is the direction of self to other, and that's the direction of heterophilia. The other is the direction of self or to same, or self to self, or a part of the self, or a similar, and that's the direction of homophilia. So when masculine and feminine principles get together in heterophilic ways, they create opportunities for self-transcendence. But when male connects with male and female connects with female, they're relating in a way that leads to self-acceptance, to self-love, and to integration within a single system. So, what's the significance of all of this? Well, there's some startling conclusions, and I'd like to leave this discussion with a few of these thoughts. When I say that human nature includes homophilia, or what I call gayness in the realm of sexuality, as an inherent part of this coherent picture, that leads to some very interesting analogies. You see, this part of human nature is the same as that defined by religion and philosophy as the principle of agape, or the relationship between God and creation. The way that God includes and enfolds creation within itself. And in Christian theology, the idea of self-sacrificial love, that God enters history through an act of the cross, and that central symbol is a way of expressing God's love and really the nature and purpose of being human. Well, this is the most spiritual element of human nature. It's also one of the most hidden and difficult to describe. And yet it's what's really a central feature of all spiritual traditions. And it's also one and the same as the principle of homophilia and gayness. So that's why I say that God is gay. It's because when you look at human nature and you understand properly the relationship of all things at a fundamental level, God is gay.